we have your weekend Apple news. Welcome back to the channel. So what do we do on the weekends on this channel? We go through the Apple weekend news, and I usually go through about 20 or 25 Apple related stories. I also throw in a whole bunch of Apple kind of products on sale. I'll show you the sale prices and stuff like that. So sit back. I usually have a beer and we have some fun on the weekends. So let's get into the weekend Apple news. All right, story number one. I think we're all waiting just to see what the 11th gen iPad's going to bring. The 10th gen's obviously been out for a few years, since 2022. So what are some of the new changes we think are coming at the end of October, possibly maybe the beginning of next year? Right here, Mac Rumors. iPad 11, what's next for the Apple's most affordable tablet? So it says Apple's working on an update for the low-cost iPad right here, just like I mentioned. It has not been refreshed since 2022, believe it or not. So design-wise, Apple overhauled the look of the iPad in 2022, basically introducing the 10.9-inch display with the Touch ID power button. So we're not expecting any design changes. It's going to look exactly the same. That's one thing. It says right down here, Apple will likely stick with the 10.9-inch display, but it could get some new colors. So if you want some new colors, who knows what they're going to come out with this time? Probably more muted colors, right? Hopefully they come out with some really, really dark, sharp colors, but I doubt they'll do that. But anyways, the color's there. And then basically it'll continue to support the USB-C pencil. The big change here is going to be the chip. So it says right here, the A series chip. The current 10th gen has an A14 chip, and I did a video on this a little while ago. It says basically it's getting outdated, obviously. That used to be in the iPhone 12, but the logical choice for the next iPad is going to basically be the A16, all right? And I showed the difference between the A14 and the A16. It was like a 48% multi-core difference, 48% increase, so pretty good. But the A16, if we get that, that means really no Apple Intelligence, because you need the 17 Pro for that, right? That's kind of unusual. But we do know that the Arizona plant, TSMC in Arizona, the chip plant over there, is actually making A16 chips for some reason. I heard that in an article recently. So who knows if this is true? It could very well be. And then it says other updates. It just says it's going to get Wi-Fi 6E or better, so that's going to be upgraded as well. That's one small change. The screen's going to stay the same as well, and the cost should be the same. The only other change I said in here as far as cost, it should be $349. They could possibly, if Apple feels generous, give us 128 gigs to start instead of 64, and then the upgrade will go to 256. I doubt Apple will do it, but you guys tell me in the comments what you think. And that's really all they think. Now, the release date can either be with the iPad Mini 7 coming out in October, or it can be after that, early like 2025. We don't know for sure yet. Let's just not hold our breath. Okay, for story number two, I think it was about a week ago I did a video actually on all the things coming out, we think, in the October event coming up here next month. So what's coming out then, right? But this is going to be what's coming out after that. So what are the things we're missing that are going to come out in 2025 that we're sure about? So let's take a look at this article, 9 to 5 Mac. It says these Apple products won't get updated this year, but they're coming out in 2025 for all it's worth. So here's the big ones. The M4 MacBook Air, that's going to be early spring. So let's hope that comes out around March, we think, of next year, 2025. The Mac Studio and the Mac Pro. That's crazy. So that's the crazy thing here. So it says the Mac Studio is expected around mid-2025, and then it says the Mac Pro will follow later in the year, so end of 2025. That's crazy, right? Those things have not been updated forever. Then we have the thing that I'm waiting for, the iPhone SE4 here. And the reason I like this is it's going to be about $499, right? It's going to say it has a new edge-to-edge display with the home button, just like Apple's flagships. So it's going to look edge-to-edge just like the other ones. It's going to have an A18 chip for Apple Intelligence. That's what they're thinking right here. An OLED display and a USB-C port. So how can you go wrong for $499 on that? I'm going to probably pick one of those up for sure. Then here we have the AirPods Pro 3 right here. So this is finally going to get the design update. Down here it says it's going to be a new design and the new H3 chip and fresh design. So these will undoubtedly bring a boost in audio quality. So that's basically what they're thinking here. We know that these just they just showcase these, but only with the hearing aid feature. The hardware is exactly the same, so it didn't change. That's pretty, I'm not too excited about that. The Apple Watch Ultra 3, finally, we know that this is going to be coming out. It says that, obviously in the September event, they only came out with a new color. We're all expecting the Ultra Watch 3. So this is finally going to come out. It doesn't really give a huge time frame. It just says 2025. So I'm sure they're not too sure about that. New AirTags we're going to get as well. You can see right here. And they're thinking it says finally arrive in 2025. It's going to basically have the second generation ultra wideband chip. So this is going to give it more accurate readings and wider readings and stuff. So if you want more accurate, but I think the design is going to stay the same for all it's worth. It might change a little bit, but I think the form factor should because of all the cases people have and stuff like that. Might get a little thinner like Apple's doing with everything else. And then the Apple Watch SE3 right here, you can see it right here. And but anyways, we don't know too much about this. I mean, there's some things that they're talking about it, but here in this article it doesn't talk about too much, just that it might be coming. And then some wild cards down here is the Apple TV and the HomePod. So let's hope that those actually get updated as well. And then the iPad, it's saying could be either this year or next year. And then finally, this thing right in the middle. This is kind of this new device that Apple's making. It's kind of like a robot. They call it the robot device. It's not really. It's kind of like an iPad with a speaker, and it's going to be good for home use with an Apple TV built into it and stuff like that. We don't know if it's going to ship next year or the year after, but we do know it's being worked on and coming in the future. So anyways, that's all for this. Let's keep moving to the third one. All right, this next article is not a big surprise. It says right here, 9 to 5 Mac, U.S. Mac shipments flat ahead of expected M4 launch. So down here, I just thought it was interesting. It says the new market intelligence report suggests that the Mac shipments were flat from the previous quarter. Mac was up just 0.5% year on year against the overall average of 3.7%, but likely that is because many are waiting for the M4 Macs to come out. And that's what I'm thinking as well. There's been this kind of gap here where we've heard about the M4s for a while, and people are just holding off to see what they're going to give. Are they going to give 16 gigs of RAM standard? Are they going to, is the M4 Mac Mini going to be intriguing to them? So I think this is the reason why. Plus down here it says with IT spending ramping up, large enterprise PC refresh is underway as well for large corporations or enterprises. And that's obviously normally, obviously going to be more Windows computers. So that's why Windows may be leading Mac a little bit right now. But I think Mac will kind of catch up at the end of the year here. And we're going to see. It's all up to this next month and see what Apple comes out with and see if they can actually shock us with it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think's coming. They better do something special. I know next year they're going to have maybe some design changes on all the Macs. This year it's just going to be more specs. But with Apple Intelligence and the specs, I hope they're good enough to make people, really want to change. I just think they're too good right now where people just don't want to make the change. All right, so now we have a couple just Apple sales that are out there. Just wanted to note them because they're kind of cool. Now, Apple Watches that just came out, the Series 10, there are already some sales on Amazon. Not huge sales, but a couple. So right here we have the Apple Watch Series 10. This is the 46 millimeter case. $399 right now, usually $429, so 7% off. For all it's worth, it's something, right? They're giving us something. And then that's kind of, the smaller version here. This is the 42 millimeter case right here, the Apple Watch Series 10. So this is the same one, or just a smaller one. $369, so 8% off on this one. So usually $399. So we're getting like $30 off, right? I mean, it's not much money, but it's something. Apple's finally giving us something on the watches, and they usually don't. And they didn't usually do this quick, right? They usually would wait a little while before these discounts started coming out. All right, the next thing here that's going to be on sale is the same kind of a thing. So now we got some sales on this as well. This is the Apple AirPods 4 wireless earbuds. These just came out as well in September. You can see these are actually down a little bit, $10. They were usually $179. They're down to $169, so only 6% off. And that's the new refreshed AirPods 4. So again, it just came out, so you can't expect too much more than this. If you do want more, maybe wait closer to Christmas. And then this is the one this is with active noise cancellation. If you want to get the ones without active noise cancellation, we're going to click on it over here. These are down to $119, and they're usually $129. So that's a little bit more percentage, 8% drop there. So that's not a bad price. These are the new 4s. Obviously, you don't get the the noise cancellation, the active noise cancellation, but it's something. $119 I think is a fair price for these. These are really good. So if you're thinking about it, definitely pick one of these up. And then finally, to round up the sales, and then we're going to get back to more stories and then more sales later. Here we go. I thought this was one of the better sales here. Now, hear me out on this because I don't recommend getting an M2 or an M3 for a couple of reasons. Watch my last video, but they're still incredibly good computers. And this may fall into a different category because I was talking about the Airs, really. This is a Pro. So here's the Apple 2023 MacBook Pro. It's unusual that Apple sells this. So it's the M2 Pro chip, 16-inch right here, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD. Look at this. From when it was new, it was usually $24.99. Now it's $18.69. So $650 off, 25% off, and it's sold by Apple. Here's the Apple Store right here, and it's new. So Apple's still selling this from their Apple Store through Amazon, $650 off for a 16-inch. It's the M2 Pro, but still fast enough for almost anybody watching this. Trust me, it is. So this might be, in my last video I said it has to be huge discounts, and I classify this as a huge discount. So I'm going to take a sip for that. I think they actually did a really good job here. And if you're looking for saving some money, you might want to eye this one up. All right, so I learn something every day, and on this next article here, I think you guys will too, because I didn't know this was available. And take a look. This is Mac Rumors. It says avoid motion vehicle motion sickness with this new iOS 18 feature. So vehicle motion sickness. It says Apple added several new accessibility features, and one in particular that's going to likely have widespread appeal among car passengers is the vehicle motion cues. So I didn't know this was available, but you can look at the phone here. It can be on an iPad or a phone, and it puts these little dots on here. And what the dots do, let me just kind of go down here. It says with vehicle motion cues, animated dots on the edges of the screens represent changes in the vehicle's motion to help reduce sensory conflict without interfering with the main content. Users using sensors built into the iPhone or iPad, vehicle motion cues recognizes when the user is moving in a vehicle basically and responds accordingly. The feature can be set to show automatically on the iPhone. So what it basically does is, I don't know how it even works, but it moves something on those dots or something so that you don't become motion sickness while you're looking at your phone in a car, right? This isn't good for drivers, right? But if you're a passenger, it should be good, right? So anyways, take a look. There it is. In order to turn this on, and again, I didn't even know this was available, it says you basically have to go into tap accessibility. So go into your settings, tap accessibility, then tap motion. Accessibilities, motion down here. And then once you're in here, it says basically tap show vehicle motion cues right there, and then choose on or automatic over here. So on means it's on always. Automatic will turn on when it senses that you're in a car or a moving car, maybe based on the speed or something. And then there you go. So when you're looking at your phone, I haven't tested it out yet, but I guess it helps a lot of people that get motion sickness with this simple feature that they built in. It's just funny because Apple doesn't even talk about these things. They add them and then nobody even knows about them, which is crazy to me. But anyways, I hope this helps. All right, this next article, it's not even an article. I just thought this was interesting. So if you actually go to an Apple store and you just want to know, like, what do those people actually make as far as salaries? This is from Indeed, the actual job site. I saw this on there, and it's just from Apple stores around Chicago. So take a look here. So in here it says like Apple specialist, 40,000, roughly 40,000 a year. An Apple genius, about $26 an hour. An Apple specialist, about $22 an hour. Then it says retail consultants, $46,000 a year. Retail sales associate, $47,000. Sales associate, $20,000, up to around sales associate on a salary, $67,000. I just thought that was kind of interesting. It gives you a range of people that work in the Apple stores in the Chicago region. I know it can vary depending if you're in West Virginia or New York and stuff. I'm sure it changes quite a bit actually. But in Chicago, we're kind of in the middle there, so I figured this was kind of a good one to take a look at. Okay, so let's keep moving here. So the next article here is from Mac Rumors. It says Apple preparing iOS 18.0.1 update for iPhone following several bugs. So if you haven't been under a rock lately, you know that iOS 18 came out, but everyone's like, what's going on? And we're waiting for 18.1 because 18.1 is going to have all the AI features. Well, now there's another one intermediate in between here that's coming out in about a week. It's 18.0.1, and it's going to basically solve a lot of these bugs, which is kind of sucks. But it says in here, issues that could be addressed for the update include touchscreen issues affecting the iPhone 16 series. That's one thing. An iMessage bug, and then an iPad OS 18 bricking some of the iPad Pro units on the M4 chip. So those things could be addressed with this. So I guess it was serious enough where they actually have to throw in an update between 18 and 18.1. So for all it's worth, I just wanted to kind of let people know that might be coming here, and it's just interesting to know. Okay, so for the next article, this could be another potential problem that they're not so sure about just yet, but keep an eye open for it. Apple Insider, if you're having problems with USB on macOS Sequoia, you're not alone. So it goes on to say, if you're experiencing issues with USB on your Mac after installing Sequoia, you're not alone, with some users reporting drive connectivity issues. So it says down here, there are a few reports on Reddit and Apple support forum claiming that some adapters to macOS Sequoia are having USB port problems. Drives and chargers plugged into the USB-C ports of a MacBook aren't being detected or take a long time to become usable. So a lot of these things are happening, and it says Apple's basically, we can't reproduce the problem yet across any combination of hardware, and Apple appears not to be completely, working on this yet. So, but it looks like they're having a lot of the forums and stuff. People are seeing this. So if you do upgrade to Sequoia and you see this, definitely report it to Apple. And I just wanted to let people know, keep an eye open for it. Okay, this next article is just interesting to me, and I hope it is to you, because you don't get a lot of information like this from Apple, and it's just kind of cool to see. Apple Insider says early iPhone upgraders are deeply committed to Apple's entire ecosystem. I mean, I would think that as well, right? But it's just kind of interesting in here. It says, basically, these customers are described as the fastest upgraders, and they show a distinct pattern of behavior that sets them apart from those who hold their iPhones for extended periods. For example, approximately 67% of all iPhone buyers also own an iPad, and 36% own a Mac computer. So 67% of all iPhone people have an iPad. That's crazy, right? And 36% own a Mac. I would never have thought that. I mean, it's not that important that like they're saying like these. I would think that the people that upgrade more often are going to definitely have more devices. They probably have more money, and they're the people that love technology. And like the older people and stuff won't upgrade as often. They may not have a Mac. That doesn't make. But it's just cool to see the statistics here, right? Here's a chart. This is from Consumer Intelligence Research Partners. And so if you have an iPhone, and it says basically if you upgrade, this is what this basically means. If you're upgrading in under 2 years your iPhone, that means 69% of you have an iPad. But if you're taking over 3 years to upgrade your iPhone, 62% have an iPad. But still, look at this. That's a huge amount of people that have iPads. It's pretty amazing. And the same over here. So 42% of people actually have Macs that update their iPhone every 2 years, all the way down to here, only 29% if they take over 3 years to update their iPhone. But this is still, I mean, this is what is surprising to me. I mean, I would never have thought that almost 60-something% of people own an iPad that have an iPhone. I would just never have thought that. The Macs actually, I think, are, that's somewhere where I'd guess, maybe 30 or 40% in there. So I just thought the chart was kind of cool. You tell me, Apple doesn't release this stuff. I guess these other, alternative companies do this research, and it's just something to know, like, who's out there, who's using what, and this gives you a little bit of an insight on that. Okay, so as all your Macs get older and they age, what does Apple do? They put them on an obsolete list, I guess, and it kind of sucks, right? But anyways, here it is from Apple Insider. Apple adds 9 Macs to its obsolete device list. So here it is. 9 Macs from 2015 to 2016 are now officially classified as obsolete, meaning that Apple will not service them, while another 3 hang on under the label of vintage. So Apple will not service those ones. So what are the ones that are actually now on the obsolete list here? MacBook Retina here. Well, I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see them in here. Anywhere from, they're really the 2015, 2016 MacBook Airs, Pros, iMacs in here. So if you have any of these things, Apple's not going to even take a look at them any longer. And then it says basically, significantly, the list includes the MacBook Pro 13-inch 2016 2 Thunderbolt 3 port that has been Apple's first MacBook to come with the Touch Bar. So that's actually on the list as well, which is crazy. And then these other 3 are going to be basically on the vintage list here. So it just kind of gives you, it says, if you have one of these new, on the vintage models, you have some time for repair work to be done. The clock is now ticking. You have 2 years to get it repaired. So these are the ones that are in the vintage. That means you have 2 years to get these, repaired. And these other ones, though, are, you can't get them repaired by Apple any longer because they're obsolete. At least that's what they call them. Okay, so now we have a couple articles about Apple's Vision Pro, a couple new ones coming out. This is all going to make a little bit more sense when you see all of these articles here, so just hold on one second. Mac Rumors, it says Apple exploring lower resolution displays for cheaper Vision headset. This is good news, right? So finally, it says Apple is reportedly investigating the use of a lower resolution displays for budget-friendly version of its Vision Pro. It says right down here, Apple has received OLED display samples from Japan Display with a pixel density of around 1,500 ppi versus the 3,391 ppi that they currently have. So hopefully the price will be cut in half too. But if I read the whole article, and I did, it says down here, regardless, this development of the devices apparently remains at its early stage. It's going to take at least 2 to 3 more years. So we're going to be waiting a long time for a cheaper Vision Pro. And to make things worse, I looked over here, Mac Rumors, it says, 2025 Apple Vision Pro to get the M5 chip and Apple Intelligence. So Apple's developing a new Vision Pro, right here, headset to enter mass production in the second half of 2025. So that cheaper one's going to take 2 or 3 years, but they're coming out with a new one next year, they think, or a revised one. But it doesn't seem like it's going to have a lot of stuff in it. It says, Quay basically claims the most significant change of the new model will be the inclusion of the Apple's M5 chip. And he's saying it's a substantial upgrade from the M2. I'm not so sure about that. The processor will boost basically its computing power, especially Apple Intelligence. But I mean, realistically, do we need that, right? Because nobody's buying this one right now. It says it's expected to stay close to its current $3,400 starting price. That makes no sense either because there's nothing being developed for it because nobody's really buying this thing right now. And so who knows? But that's kind of the unusual news right there on the Apple Vision Pro. But then Microsoft actually just came out with something that kind of surprises me. Now, with all that news about the Vision Pro, Meta actually came out with something that's really cool now, and I didn't think they would right here. So look at this article, Mac Rumors. Meta unveils Orion augmented reality glasses. And so, Apple, I think, is a little bit behind here. It says Facebook parent company Meta unveiled the most advanced pair of AR glasses ever made called Orion. Now, Orion was supposed to come out as a product you could buy, but they're not really doing that because it's not completely ready yet. I'm going to show you why in a second. But overall, they're really just glasses like this where you can actually see through them. So you don't have a screen in front of of it. You're not looking through cameras. You're looking through real glass. And it actually shows up like this. You can see the picture here. But it's going to be they say it's going to be a wider field of vision than the Vision Pro. You're not going to have to rely on the cameras and some, looking through things. It's just going to be just your eyes looking through, but you'll be able to see all these different screens everywhere very clearly. And they're really close to doing this. You can see it in here, but they just didn't have it ready yet. And you can see kind of the, they want to make it smaller basically. And you'll see in a second why. I mean, he actually, the guy that actually owns Meta, I can't think of his, Zuckerberg, he came on and he was like talking about it. And he's like, yeah, we're really, really close. We wanted to, this wanted to be a product we wanted to sell, but we got to make it look better. And I have to agree with them. So look at this next one over here. Now, maybe it's just him or something, but look how goofy this guy looks. I swear to God, it's hilarious. I mean, would you wear these things around? I don't think I would. Maybe it's just him, right? I don't like this guy, but at the end of the day, he looks crazy, doesn't he? So I think that's why they want to make him a little bit more stylish. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because I think it looks better than walking with, where you can't see through anything and you have these big headsets on. Nothing looks great, but this guy looks a little bit crazy here. So I just thought it was a funny picture. And that's a real picture because I was watching that, the video of him introducing this, and it was just hilarious when he put him on and everyone kind of took a kind of gas back. But I think they're moving in the right direction. They came out with a cheaper, headset as well, which actually did come out, and they're moving in the right direction. All right, so let's keep moving here. Mac rumors right here. It says, despite new ceramic shield, iPhone 16 models still vulnerable to drops. You can see it right here. So Apple told it, they basically were saying that they have a new ceramic glass on the iPhones, and they had mentioned it a couple times in the video, in the keynote. But down here, it says right here, Allstate tested the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which is Apple's largest phone to date at 6.9 inches, and it continues to have the front and back glass. And it basically says, using a drop test, Allstate concluded several tests, and basically it shattered, in the very first time that they actually tested it. So the front and back shattered on it. And it goes on to say that Allstate, glass and cement do not mix. So while it's a little bit better, a little bit more, hard glass that they put on it, it still shatters the very, very first time you drop it. And so you got to be a little bit careful with it. I thought that was, an interesting article because Apple's kind of, they're saying how good it is, but just you still need a case and you still can't drop it on cement or it's all over for you. And that's one of the reasons glass backs and glass fronts are, not the best for iPhones. So let's keep moving here. Also for the iPhones, another plus here actually for the iPhone right here is from Apple Insider. iPhone 16 Pro is Apple's most repairable model yet. You can see it right here. So basically the teardown process, they take a closer look at the internals, resulting in its highest repairability score since the iPhone 7. So as you know, like every year, Apple's computers and phones get less repairable, and everyone's complaining about that. But, iFixit went down here, and it says right here, basically, let's just see here. Overall, the iPhone 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max have a repairability score now of 7 out of 10. Previous, the iPhone 15 Pro Max scored only a 4 out of 10. So you can go on and read the whole article. I'll have it linked in there. But long story short is they're finally moving in the right direction, and they've done some things with the battery. You can also take the back off instead of having to take the screen off, and it's all making things easier to repair, which is better for everybody. Okay, so I always take a sip on these. And these are not the best articles for me, but it's just another one to show you don't trust these big companies with all your data. Here it is right here. We just talked about them. 9 to 5 Mac, up to 600 million Facebook and Instagram passwords stored in plain text. Obviously they own Meta. So Meta has been fined 101 million after it was discovered that 600 million Facebook and Instagram passwords have been stored in plain text. Some of those passwords had been unprotected since 2012 and were searchable by more than 20,000 Meta employees, which is totally crazy. I mean, think about that for a second. And then it goes on to say, well, Meta didn't say how many accounts were affected. The senior employees told Krebs, the security back, that the incident involved 600 million passwords. And then it says not only did Meta break the law by failing to protect the passwords, but it goes on to say that they also failed the law by not even telling anybody that the breach happened. So here we go again. Allegedly, this is all from this article, but still crazy stuff. All right, we have another sale here. Now, I don't usually recommend 8 gigs of RAM. Watch my last video. But I thought this was another good sale here. It's $300 off. It's basically, if you want to get the updated version here, it's going to be the MacBook Pro M3, 14.2 inch, base model, 8 gigs only, 512. So if you just do very, very basic tasks, but you want the upgraded screen, $12.99 right now, 19% off. So you get $300 off that price. I mean, the price isn't that much to begin with, so I think that's a really fair sale there. That's on Amazon as well right now. Let's keep moving here. A couple other ones here on Woot right now. They have a couple, if you've got the iPhone 16 or you're going to be getting one, they have a lot of cases on sale right now directly from Apple. So these are the official Apple cases. Here's the Apple iPhone 16 case with MagSafe and camera control. It's only $34. So right now it's usually $49 down to $34. And it says you can take an extra $5 off with this coupon down here. So I just wanted to show you this. This is on Woot right now if you want to go ahead and pick that up. And they also have ones here for the iPhone 16 Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and they're all $34 down from $49. Plus you get that $5 off. So there you go. It's going to be down to what? Almost like $29 for an official Apple case. That's not bad. Check that out on Woot. Another sale here. Now, this is a small one here, but because I actually like this company, I've done a couple of things with them. So if you want a very, very inexpensive iPhone case, this one's from ESR. I've worked with them a couple of times. Here's the iPhone 16 Pro Max case, but they have all different types in here. They're only $12.74. Obviously, it works with MagSafe in here. This is the clear one, obviously, but these are pretty good quality. I'll go into, let's just see the iPhone 16 in here. So again, this is a pink, obviously, pink iPhone, $12.74 here, 15% off. I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to them because they make really inexpensive but pretty good products if you just want to save some money there. I thought that was kind of a cool thing too. Okay, so if this next one is kind of interesting to me, just more information about Apple, because Apple kind of touted the iPhone 16 is going to be the biggest iPhone launch because of Apple Intelligence, but it really comes down to people just really want a new phone. The Apple Intelligence is kind of a side thing, but over here, Apple Insider says shorter lead time suggests iPhone 16 is least popular iPhone since the iPhone 12. So what they're basically saying down in this thing, saying iPhone 16 Pro Max has only a 25-day wait instead of a 43.5-day wait versus all their other launches, and the iPhone 16 is down to only 18.5 days before you get the phone instead of the 32 days. So what they're basically saying is the time to ship them out to you and get them instantly on launch is way less than they used to be. And it goes on to say that Apple's supply chain is only capable of making so many phones. So while we could assume maybe they made more phones this time and they have better shipping out to people, they're saying that's probably not the case. So they're just saying that maybe less people are ordering this phone and maybe the shipment overall will go down eventually. So who knows if that's true? We're going to keep an eye on that. But if that is true, that's going to be pretty crazy, especially with Apple Intelligence coming out this year. It just goes to show you that the phones are just way too good now. And when they're that good, nobody just wants to upgrade. All right, we got two last ones here. Now, this next one is actually something I think they should do no matter what. This is actually from 9 to 5 Mac. It says right here, click to cancel subscription law goes live in California. So what does this basically mean? And California gets almost everything in the world wrong, everything. But they got this right. It says a new bill in California dubbed click to cancel has been signed into law. It requires companies to make it as quick and easy to cancel a subscription or an online subscription as it was to basically sign up for it in the first place. So if you can imagine, they go on to say like Adobe's terrible with this, like you have to call them and wait in line for 2 hours to cancel something, or like Comcast. They're saying this law is going to make it so that you have to be able to do a one-click to cancel any service that you've signed up for via the website. And I'm all for this. You guys tell me. That's the one thing I think we can all agree on. It's definitely going to be there. And I think, if there was one thing that they passed in the entire year, I think this would be the best thing because I'm just sick of waiting online trying to cancel things. And then finally, to wrap this up, I just wanted to show this. This is not really an Apple product, but the new Mac Mini we know is coming out, the M4, and we're saying we hope it's coming out with 16 gigs on the base model. I think that Apple has to do this because let's take a look what's out there for competition. This is going to be from Amazon. This is just an HP. It's basically a Windows computer. It's called the Mini 400 G9. But look at this. It's got a hexa-core i5 12500T. It says it beats the i7. 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, Wi-Fi 6. So it's got all this stuff. 16 gigs, 521. So $599 for that, and everyone's going to say, well, Apple will never do it for $599 with 16 gigs of RAM. I mean, I think they have to. Obviously, the Snapdragon's out. This is just one example. If you want a Windows system, I'll have a link to this if you want to pick one up. This is a pretty good deal by HP, but I'm just saying that this is kind of the same form factor. It's got a ton of ports on it. It goes on and on and on. There's a lot of advantages to this if you're a Windows user, right? So I think Apple finally has to give us the 16 gigs of RAM, and here's more proof. I mean, there's countless examples of this on the Windows side. Apple has to do this if they're going to move up the market share. Okay, so we're going to wrap up the video. And again, cheers. It's the weekend. I know that's a long video there, so I'll definitely leave comments. I love answering. I try to answer all the comments that people leave and stuff like that. I do 3 videos a week, usually like the news on the weekend, and then I do product reviews and stuff like that during the week. So definitely subscribe if you can, help the channel grow, and we will talk to you in the next one. Peace.